Hey guys, Rhino here, otherwise known as AoE Only for the Win on Twitch. Be sure to check out my stream down in the description below. I go live and do a lot of these boosts pretty frequently. I have a lot of fun with them, and it's a really good way to see them live. You can see some of the nuances of it. Today I'm bringing you the second ZF pull that I mentioned in my last ZF tutorial. This is the regular pull of the Graveyard plus the Scarabs. This adds quite a bit of extra mobs, plus you get an added chance at getting blue or purple BOEs from the Scarabs. I've gotten some pretty decent loot from them over my two mages, so it's worth going for them if you can. Typically, because of the added challenge to this pull, I don't recommend doing it below level 47 or 48. You can try if you want to, and if you're able to, more power to you. But typically around 47 or 48 is when it becomes easy enough to do this on a consistent basis. Now this run is going to be very similar to the last tutorial a lot of the way, but then it varies right at the end. So when it comes to gear, my gear is nothing special. There's no real requirements other than I highly recommend having minor speed increase on your boots. Aside from that, my gear is pretty low tier, and you don't need anything terribly special. Stamina and intellect with some spirit certainly helps. For your talents, it's your standard frost tree. There's nothing special here to call out. And I don't think there's any needed requirements here. You can kind of build how you want. That's just my tree. There's nothing special about this pull that really goes one way or the other. When it comes to your buffs, I'm going to put on my Ice Armor, my Arcane Intellect, and my Dampen Magic, and then also my Ice Barrier. That's pretty straightforward. But instead of waiting for more cooldown on my Ice Barrier, I just immediately mount up and go. That's because on this pull, I'm running straight towards the kill spot. Something happens, so I don't actually do that. I'll explain that when I get there, but that's why I do that instead of waiting and going to the reset spots, because I'm at a point where I can easily get to the pull spot without any interruptions. However, it doesn't matter. For this pull, if you need to go to every single reset spot along the way, go for it. It's entirely up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Don't do anything out of your comfort zone with this if you don't want to, and if you're struggling, you can make it easier on yourself by going to more reset spots. It's completely up to you. So again, nothing terribly special here. If you have any questions about this part of the poll, you can check out my prior video, or you can leave a comment down below. Either one works. But I'm not talking too much about the poll or getting to the spot because I mentioned more of that in the prior video. Here I'm running along, and I had the unfortunate thing happen where I wasn't watching the timer on my Ice Barrier, and it expired right as the melee mob hit me, so I didn't turn myself towards him and ended up getting dismounted. It's not a problem. Normally in a case like this, I would actually still be able to go on and start the pull immediately and not have to worry, because by the time I get to the first reset spot, the mobs haven't caught up to me. However, what I noticed here, I had really bad RNG on this pull for two reasons. One is this mob here. So this mob that's in this hallway before the graveyard, if this is a Shadow Hunter, then you need to kill this mob, because this mob will mess you up. Now, when it comes to, I could have just started the pull, but I didn't want the zombies out of their graves yet because I need to kill this mob before I start the kill phase. Because this mob will be pulled when we run through here. Most likely it will be pulled. There are ways to avoid it, but ultimately, in most cases, it's going to be pulled. And because this is a ranged unit, it will be able to hit you from the spot. You can polymorph it, but it just makes it a bigger pain in the butt for sure. So what you'll see me do is, instead of starting the pull, I actually go to the reset spot, I wait for everything to reset, and I kill this mob. I recommend doing this if it is a Shadow Hunter. Most of the other mobs, there's no problems, but the Shadow Hunter is just a pain. Plus, the Shadow Hunter has the ability to hex you, which will be an almost guaranteed death unless you have your Ice Barrier up. So here, I actually, instead of going straight to the pull phase, which I normally do, I go to the reset spot like in my last tutorial video, wait for them to reset, and then I'm going to go kill this guy real quick. Even as low as level 42 or 43, it's really easy to kill the Shadow Hunters one-on-one. They don't damage terribly hard. They don't attack very fast. If you keep your shield up and you use your Frostbolt, Fire Blast, you really shouldn't have any problem killing these guys. I believe in this run, I actually had the unfortunate thing happen where I got killed, or I didn't get killed, I got hexed by the Shadow Hunter, which is an unfortunate thing to have happen because they can still hit you and not undo the polymorph, the hex, but that's okay. Ultimately, yeah, here I got hexed. You can ice block out of it. I didn't feel a need to because they don't hit very hard. They don't hit very often. Just reapplied my shield, got back up and finished him off real quick. The second bad RNG thing that happened is the mob on the other side was also a Shadow Hunter. So I had the really bad RNG of having both mobs be Shadow Hunters. And so I end up having to kill that mob as well. It really just makes things easier if you see a Shadow Hunter in either one of the two spots on the side of the graveyard, or on the edges of the graveyard. You might want to kill those mobs. It just makes things easier. You don't have to. Here, I'm going to get into the kill phase, so or the pull phase. I'm going to pull here. I'm going to run in, get the guy to yell or to say the thing, how dare you enter my sanctum, and then I start the pull. I had relatively bad RNG on zombie spawns here. Not too bad, but here's where I noticed that the Shadow Hunter, the second mob was a Shadow Hunter, and so I knew I needed to go and kill this guy. So I was waiting for these to reset. I was hoping he was going to be on the pathing out of the graveyard, but he was on the pathing into the graveyard, so I ended up having to wait a second to kill him here. But again, pretty simple. Running in here, letting them reset, and then taking out the Shadow Hunter. Pretty much any of the other mobs, it's not really a problem. I usually just leave them alone. A lot of times this mob on this side of the graveyard doesn't pull anyway, so you don't have to do this, but I wanted to be safe, especially for a tutorial video, because in a case where this does happen, and let's say you're new to this, and you end up getting a Shadow Hunter, you're going to have some problems, because you're going to have to be balancing polymorphing him with your blizzards on the other mobs, and they sometimes break polymorph early. Again, they also have the Hex. So, just felt this was the easier way to go about it. Normally, I don't worry too much about those extra mobs. The one in the hallway, though, if it's a Shadow Hunter, I typically like to kill it. After I killed it, then I go on to the second set of graves. Here, again, nothing is terribly special about this. We're basically doing the same thing as the first pull. I believe here I did have to burn my cold snap again. There are methods that you can do to prevent that from happening, and it is nice to have the cold snap available for the scarab pull, but ultimately I've been pretty good about the scarab pull portion, so I didn't feel that I needed it and just went ahead and used my cold snap. Part of it had to do with a bunch of them, that huge group of mobs there ignored or resisted my Frost Nova, so I cold snapped and Nova'd again to allow myself to safely get to the reset spot here. Again, all of this just like the first run, and then this last portion is also going to be the same as the first tutorial. This is quite simple, quite straightforward. It's more some nuance to the scarab part of the pull that can make things a little bit more challenging. Not terribly challenging. I might have overstated it or over-exaggerated it a little bit. It's really not that hard of a pull. It's just a little bit more challenging than the standard pull. So, okay, getting the rest of the mobs here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, jump up on the face of the statue. I'm not switching away from my ice armor, so I'm keeping my ice armor on at this point. I'm reapplying my dampen magic, just in case I get any casters pulled or anything like that. Not super necessary, and because I had killed the mob that's in this hallway, I wanted to demonstrate that I don't have to wait for a mob patrolling at any point. So as soon as I'm out of combat, I can regenerate my mana and start the pull. However, I do want to mention this. If you do not have a Shadow Hunter, or if you just decide not to kill the mob that's in this hallway, all you have to do is you have to wait till they're patrolling, walking past, and they're walking past you right here, where I'm standing over here on this wall. Once they walk past you, you're safe to jump down and begin the rest of this pull. That's all you want to do. You just want to make sure not to pull them too early, because if you do, it'll make pulling the scarabs a lot more challenging. You're more likely to get dazed or get killed, so best to just let them patrol past you. But here, once my combat drops, I'm just going to regenerate my mana and go for the pull, because I did go ahead and kill that mob. If you want to kill whatever mob spawns there, go for it. It's your call. It'll make this part a little bit easier, but not all that much, unless it's a Shadow Hunter, where it will definitely be easier than if you left them alive. Alright, so I'm going to mount up. I'm going to go down. I'm going to target one of these front scarabs here. I like this one that I'm highlighting, but you can target one of the ones to the side. And I'm going to wait for Theka to get a little bit further away, just so that he's less active in this pull. If he is right near me here, it'll just be a little bit more challenging because it's one extra melee mob, an elite melee mob that's involved in the pull that can hit me, break my shield, daze me, anything like that. So I like to let him patrol a little bit more. If you're really struggling or you're brand new to this, you can wait till he's on the other side of the labyrinth from you, and then it's essentially very unlikely that he's going to pull. I didn't wait that long. I just went ahead and started when he was just far enough away that he wasn't going to be super big of an issue. When you're here, you're going to want to use a rank 1 Frostbolt to pull that Scarab, and then a rank 1 Frostbolt to pull one of the Scarabs in the corner there. And then you're going to run on ahead. You're going to target the far Scarab in the hallway here, and you're going to pop a counter spell. And then you're just going to run over here straight ahead to the where you head on to the boss back here. So basically you're running back to this area. You're going to sit there and you're going to wait for the Scarabs to head towards you a little bit because they're actively pulling. They social aggro with each other. And then once they get close, then you're going to jump over the box and immediately blink. I'm going to reapply my ice barrier. If you blink properly, then you're not going to get hit. You're not going to have to worry about it. And you're just basically going to run on ahead. Here is where things can get a little bit tricky, a little bit dicey. All of the mobs are out, so it can get a little bit scary. What you're going to do is you're going to start the pull here, you're going to jump up on the other side. So the way that I do this is I do a rank 1 Blizzard to pull these mobs off to my right. Then I either body pull or Cone of Cold these mobs right in front of me. And then I'm going to blink here straight towards this mob. It's unfortunate that this mob is standing right here, but I'm basically blinking straight towards this mob because we're going to jump up right here, and I'm going to try to Frost Nova when I get close, like that. That Frost Nova does a good job of pulling all the mobs that are in the archway. So blink, Frost Nova, and then jump up on this ledge, and then it's a simple scale the face of the statue, just like the other side, pretty easy, and then jump onto the wall. And then the rest of this pull is more or less the same as the prior one. You just have a lot more mobs because you have the Scarabs. Typically when you jump up on this side, the mobs are further away. So on this specific pull, I jump over to this side and I actually queue up a rank 1 Blizzard to really work on the grouping. Because again, as I mentioned before, when you're on this side of the wall, the mobs are able to path towards you. When you're on the other side of the wall over here, they're not. So basically they're in the evade timer, where if you're on that wall for 15 seconds or more, most of the mobs are going to evade, they're going to reset, and you're going to lose them. So I jump over here, I pop a rank 1 Blizzard to slow them down and allow as many of the mobs to path towards me as possible, and usually they all get to a point where they're able to do the pull. So I just hop over and then I start my pull, doing a rank 1 Blizzard here, get them grouped up, and then we're going back to the regular standard route that I like to do, where I'm going to hop back across. I'm going to take a step or two out from the pillar, and then I'm going to just do a max rank Blizzard. The one thing you have to keep in mind with this pull is all of the extra mobs that you're pulling, all of the Scarabs are non-elites, so they get killed very easily. When they're killed, so basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that you kill them while they're on or close to the wall. Here I did forget to pop my mage armor. It's not a big deal. I've never ran into mana issues, so. But when the non-elites are starting to get low, you want to make sure to try to kill them at this part of the wall. What ends up happening here is a few of the Scarabs survive my max rank Blizzard. These ones right here. And so instead of waiting for them to path all the way up the hill, I wait until the Scarabs are just barely getting off the wall. Then I jump back across and I start the Blizzard, so that way they're killed really close to the wall. Just what you want to do with all the mobs, just reminding you that there's more non-elites in this pull. I actually had a lot of dead heroes in this pull too, which is interesting. But a lot of non-elite Scarabs in the pull, so you don't want to kill them on the hill and lose out on that experience and that loot. Otherwise you just wasted a bunch, or sorry, you get the experience but you miss out on the loot. And so there'd be a lot of time wasted because you do want to get that extra loot. It can be quite helpful. Then jumping back, doing my regular Blizzard. Because these are the elites, I do this a little bit higher up on the hill. And because I stepped out, they're now taking a lot of hits in my Blizzard early on. And so I can do 2 max rank Blizzards before I hop back across. And then once they're getting down to low health and they start moving slowly, then I jump back across and I do a max rank on their way back. You don't typically see me do that backdoor blizzard until they're very close to death because they're moving slowly, so they're more likely to take hits. Then once I kill the last one, I use the layer macros that I talked about in my last video. Super simple, just slash join layer, slash 5 layer, and then slash leave layer. To get an invite to a party, so I can join that, I can leave, and I can get that automatic ghetto hearth back to my back to Gajazan, and then I can start my looting. Here I didn't get anything particularly interesting, although last night, before recording this video, I actually got a bow of searing arrows from doing this pull. Nice little 50G bow that I got. That's the second purple that I've gotten doing this solo boost, and it's the much better one because the first one I got was the Ice Mail Jerkin, which is not worth anything. So you got some good loot opportunities here. You can technically get Edge Masters too, so there is a lot that you can get here. There's a lot of potential for good experience and good money. Typically, with Outrested experience, I'm getting between 180 to 200k experience an hour doing this, so you can level up very quickly. I've been flying through the levels. I'm almost to level 54, where I'm going to head off and do the Sunken Temple pull. I'm not going to record any tutorials or anything for that because I already have my prior tutorials, but if you check out my Twitch, AoE Only for the Win, on Twitch TV, then you'll see sometimes I'll be doing the Sunken Temple boost for the easy pull for leveling. So you'll notice here I had 91 mob count, which is slightly lower than I typically get, like 95, 38k experience, about 189k experience an hour. The 12 minutes, 5 seconds for the run is a little bit overstated because I did have to set up the recording and everything ahead of time, so I didn't just immediately get in and start the recording. So it was a little bit lower. Typically these are 11 to 12 minute runs though, depending on how your RNG is. So that's about it for this video, guys. If there's any other tutorials you want me to do, please let me know. This is kind of all that I have for the time being, but I'm happy to learn more and do easy tutorials if you like these, so let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.